He looks like a harmless little creature, almost made of cotton. But behind that angelic appearance hides one of the greatest masters of canine emotional manipulation. The Maltese doesn't need to bark loudly, he just gives you that asterisk look. And boom, you're already doing everything he wants. But do you really know the true story behind this breed that has conquered thrones, carpets, and, of course, your couch? Buckle up. What you're about to discover about the Maltese might change everything. His name is Maltese, but don't be fooled by the fancy sound. He doesn't come with an instruction manual, but maybe he should. This tiny tyrant weighs more than 4 kilos, yes, 4, but carries the energy of a chaotic army in full revolt in his paws. Standing at an average height of 20 to 25 centimeters, he seems like he could fit in the palm of your hand, until he starts running the entire house, hailing from the central Mediterranean, particularly the areas around the island of Malta, hence the name. The Maltese is one of the oldest dog breeds in the world, and guess what? He knows it. He carries centuries of history in his silky white coat, the kind that tangles just from you glancing at it, demanding care worthy of a celebrity salon. Daily brushing, yes, frequent baths, of course, and if you forget to dry his coat properly, brace yourself for revenge. The pup turns into a walking ball of dampness and the smell. Unforgettable. But the real technical detail no one mentions is the behavior. Intelligent, very clever, too much, except that cleverness turns into a challenge. The Maltese is the type that learns fast how to manipulate you. He knows exactly which bark to use to get attention, which look to give for off-schedule treats, and even how to seem fragile to dodge scoldings. And don't think his small size stops him from acting like the king of the street. He barks, challenges, growls if necessary, all with the audacity of someone who's never doubted themselves. Dotto. And of course, they say he's hypoallergenic, as if that gives him a free pass to be a walking for vacuum. The problem isn't the shedding, it's the effort to keep everything clean, neat, and presentable. But hold on, because understanding what the Maltese is today is nothing compared to what he once was. Now that you know the technical specs of this furry creature, it's time to look at the past, because the Maltese didn't pop up yesterday, and certainly not quietly. This breed was born surrounded by pomp, luxury, and a hefty dose of flattery. From ancient times, he was treated as more than just a dog. And maybe that's where it all started to go wrong. It's believed the Maltese originated over 1,000 years ago in the coastal regions of the Mediterranean, especially on the island of Malta, a sunny little rock between Sicily and North Africa. Phoenician merchants carried these pups from port to port, not to hunt or protect, but as a status symbol. That's right, the Maltese was a living jewel land with an ego to match. In ancient Rome, he was already lounging on the laps of nobility. Roman aristocrats treated the Maltese like a furry oracle, complete with portraits and mosaics and even statues, not to be outdone. The Greeks fell for him too, in Hellenistic tombs. Traces of tributes to these dogs were found as if their mere existence justified eternal reverence. And don't think the Middle Ages dimmed this creature's shine. Quite the opposite. The Maltese sailed through centuries pampered by queens, duchesses, and court ladies, always surrounded by embroidered cushions, floral perfumes, and exclusive dressing tables, while other breeds faced fields, cold, hard labor, or war. The Maltese, he slept in beds more comfortable than those of many humans at the time. Starting to understand why he thinks so highly of himself. He grew up on a red carpet and now treats any environment like it's still Versailles. But it was in the modern world, when cameras started clicking, that this little star found his perfect stage. If you thought the Maltese would settle for castle salons and marble portraits, you were dead wrong. When the world got cameras, social media, and spotlights, the Maltese didn't waste a second. He bolted straight to center stage, as if he knew he was born for it. And the worst part, everyone seemed to agree. Hollywood celebrities, influencers, socialites, they all fell at his paws. It didn't take long for him to invade perfume commercials, fashion magazines, and pop star album covers. That angelic image with flowing white fur and those don't break my heart eyes racked up likes, shares, and endless adoration. But let's be real, it's all a facade. The Maltese became a modern status symbol, a walking accessory for those who want to look cute, rich, and sophisticated all at once. And guess what? He knows it. He struts as if every sidewalk is a Chanel runway, and every camera pointed at him is a moral obligation to be worshipped. But behind that movie star pose lives a manipulative actor. He knows how to use that sweet look to get what he wants. He understands that with the right bark, the world stops. And when he's not being carried in a designer bag, he's decked out in bows, outfits, and even tiny shoes, as if he's more important than people. All this fame created a monster. A small, furry, spoiled monster. And the worst part, he didn't ask to be this way. We made him. Humanity turned a dog into a fragile idol. And now, he struts around like he owns the neighborhood or the world. But every star has its eclipse. And what comes after intense fame? Sometimes, the fall, or in the case of the Maltese, the judgment. All this unchecked fame came at a price. And it didn't take long for the Maltese, this lapdog king of flashbulbs, to start facing criticism, harsh, constant, and in many cases, fair. Because the more an animal is treated as an ornament, the less it's respected as a living being. Veterinarians began sounding the alarm. Canine behavior experts lost their patience. And unsuspecting owners discovered, too late, that this living plush toy came with a strong temperament, absurd stubbornness, and an emotional dependency that borders on unbearable. We're not talking about a frail, docile dog. We're talking about a dog that, if not properly socialized, becomes a true miniature tyrant. Constant barking, possessiveness, exaggerated jealousy, and even attacks against guests, children, or anything that threatens his throne. The criticism came from all sides. The very creation of the breed began to be questioned. Plenty of public shaming in the good sense happened behind the scenes of the dog world. Excessive breeding, ever longer coats, increasingly flattened snouts, all to meet an absurd aesthetic standard that has nothing to do with health. The result, breathing problems, compromised teeth, constantly irritated eyes. All for an angelic look. There was a time when the Maltese almost vanished. Not for lack of interest, but from too much of it. Too much vanity, too much genetic manipulation, too much ignorance. Serious breeders had to step in, trying to save what was still natural, true, and functional in this ancient breed. Even so, the damage was done. Today, the Maltese carries a silent stain, a fame that borders on a burden. He's loved by many, but behind that love, there's judgment, there's doubt, and there's a growing unease when looking at him and wondering, did we create a dog or a caricature? And that question opens the door to a new dilemma. Because if we've been talking about behavior and reputation so far, the Maltese's body holds even more complex secrets. Secrets that start to surface when the fur falls and the diagnoses arrive. Behind the glamour, the Maltese carries a fragile body and a veterinary history that could make any medical chart look like a tragic soap opera. Starting with the obvious, the coat. Beautiful? Yes, but also a maintenance trap. Daily. Because if you don't brush, it mats. If it mats, it gets inflamed. If it gets inflamed, it gets infected. And when the owner finally notices the odd smell, the dog's already suffering in silence. And it's not just aesthetics. These infections can cause chronic skin issues and even hard to heal lesions. Then come the eyes. The famous teary look of the Maltese, which many find cute, is actually a sign of a common condition called epiphora. A blocked tear duct causes constant tearing, irritating the skin around the eyes and leaving that dark stain underneath. On top of that, this breed is prone to issues like early cataracts and dry eye, which, if untreated, can lead to blindness. And as if that weren't enough, we have the teeth. The Maltese's mouth is a ticking time bomb with rapid tartar buildup, gum recession, and even tooth loss before age 5. A tiny dog with constant pain and breath that'll make you shiver, all due to poor bone formation and inadequate diets. But what really worries is the respiratory system and tracheal collapsa, condition where the trachea literally closes during breathing, causing chronic coughing and choking episodes. Many owners think it's cute when the pup coughs like it's choking, until the day it actually stops breathing. And finally, the joints. The Maltese is prone to patellar luxation, a painful condition where the kneecap slips out of place. One wrong jump off the couch, and boom, surgery or lifelong suffering. This is the side no one shows on Instagram, because behind the heavenly appearance, there's a body in struggle. A body that demands constant attention, discipline, and an uncomfortable dose of responsibility. But if all that already sounds problematic, what about the mysteries even medicine can't explain? Even with all the advances in veterinary science, the Maltese continues to defy diagnoses as if somehow its ancient lineage holds codes that modern science hasn't yet cracked. One of the biggest mysteries involves the breed's neuro-emotional behavior. Many veterinarians report cases of Maltese dogs developing severe phobias to specific sounds like rain, plastic bags, or even the clinking of silverware without any apparent trauma. Some experts suggest a genetic sensory hypersensitivity, but there's no consensus. It's as if the Maltese's brain is wired for hypervigilance, even in safe environments. Another enigma, white dog shaker syndrome. It primarily affects light-coated dogs, and guess who's at the top of the list? The Maltese. It's a rare neurological condition causing involuntary tremors throughout the body with no fever, pain, or signs of infection. Some recover spontaneously. Others live with tremors their entire lives. The cause still a question mark. Digestion has its secrets too. Many Maltese show seemingly random food intolerances. One day they eat chicken just fine. The next, the same chicken causes vomiting and intense diarrhea. Tests show nothing abnormal, but the body rejects it. This breed's gut microbiome seems to operate on a different rhythm, a different code, as if it follows its own rules. And then there's the emotional side. Cases of Maltese dogs falling into deep depression after minor changes in environment, or routine like moving a piece of furniture, or the owner's brief absence. Some even stop eating, requiring psychological intervention and even controlled medications. Again, it's not fussiness. It's a deeply rooted psychological trait that science observes but still can't explain. In the end, the Maltese remains a walking paradox, a fragile body, a hypersensitive brain, a restless soul. The more you study, the more questions arise. And maybe, just maybe, he wasn't meant to be fully understood. But if even science hesitates to judge, what about those who simply can't stand this breed? Let's set the record straight. The Maltese may be everything we've described so far: fragile, temperamental, mysterious, but one thing he's never been: forgettable. And that's exactly why he collects haters. Yes, some people just can't stand the Maltese. And if you're one of them, you might recognize yourself in some of these reasons. 1. He's loud. Very. Barks at everything. A leaf falling in the garden, he barks. A slightly deeper breath, he barks. If you value silence, good luck. 2. He's clingy. He doesn't leave you alone, not even to go to the bathroom. A Maltese doesn't coexist, he fuses to your existence. 3. He seems too fragile. That constant feeling he'll break at the slightest stumble. Some people can't handle the stress of living with a living porcelain doll. 4. He demands attention 24/7. Ignore him for 5 minutes, and he goes into drama mode, whining, sulking, or doing something he knows will annoy you. 5. The grooming. The grooming. If you don't like going to the hairdresser for yourself, brace yourself. The Maltese requires more maintenance than a soap opera star. 6. He's theatrical. Throws tantrums, manipulates you with his eyes, knows exactly how to look helpless to get what he wants. 7. He gets jealous. Yes. Jealous of other dogs, guests, your phone, even the remote control. 8. Prone to diseases, intolerances, and constant emergencies. The Maltese's health plan sometimes feels like that of a 90-year-old. 9. He challenges you. Despite his size, he tests your patience, your authority, your sanity like a plush rebel. 10. Because, deep down, he's too intense, and not everyone's ready to live with someone who demands so much love and returns it with the same fury when he feels neglected. But if you've made it this far, maybe, just maybe, you're ready to face the true final dilemma. So, after all this, do you still dare say you don't like the Maltese? Because, deep down, maybe what you really can't stand is the mirror he represents. A small, intense dog full of demands, yes, but also full of love, loyalty, and presence. The Maltese leaves no room for lukewarm relationships. Either you love him, or he drives you insane. He forces you to be present, to pay attention, to care not because he needs you, but because you need to be better to deserve him. Maybe the problem was never the Maltese, but the fact that he sees everything you try to hide. This white-furred, doll-like dog knows how to provoke. He confronts you with his sensitivity, his fragility, his absurd courage to be small and still dominate the room. He's not just a pet. He's a constant reminder that true value isn't in size, but in the intensity with which you live. And that's why, no matter how much people criticize, no matter how much he annoys, no matter how his barks echo like hammers in your head, the Maltese will never be forgotten. Now, if you think everything you've seen so far is exaggeration, sentimentality, or drama, brace yourself for the next chapter. Because there's a dark side to the Maltese's story that almost no one knows, a past buried under centuries of royalty and luxury. And believe me, you'll never look at this little dog the same way again. In the next video, we'll reveal the untold secrets of the Maltese's ancient lineage and the sinister reason behind his explosive fame. Subscribe and hit the bell. What's coming next will turn your perspective upside down.